My full name is Heber, Heber, Christopher Brooks, Sr. How far back you want me to go now? You got to remember, I'm going on 80 years of age, and I had a long history. Thank the good Lord. I was born and raised in a little town called Goodway, Alabama, which is north of Atmore. Mother had 8 boys and 3 girls, and her mother, my maternal grandmother, delivered all 11 of them, and she was a midwife. In the state of Alabama, she got certified as a midwife. Not only did she deliver her daughter's kids, but her son's kids, and numerous people in Alabama and the South Monroe County. I grew up on a farm. I'm just an old farm boy from L.A., Lower Alabama. I had a hard life. Daddy worked most of the time, and we always kidded him that he only came home to get Mama pregnant, having 11 kids. But I graduated from high school, Frisco City High School, played football, played basketball, got married 2 days after I graduated from high school, married my high school sweetheart, and we just celebrated our 59th wedding anniversary. And after working for 1 year, I got drafted into the Army and went with the 101st Airborne Division and stayed 2 years. And after, they wanted me to enlist for additional time and go to OCS. If you're familiar with OCS, they produce them 90-day wonders, the second lieutenant. And my heart was set on getting out of service and going to the University of Alabama. And I did, and I graduated from Alabama in 1959. Went to work at Chemstrand as a shift foreman. I had a lot of friends that had gone to work at Chemstrand at that time. Most of them they were in maintenance or operations. I didn't have anybody that was in management down here at the Pensacola plant. But when my senior year, and by the way, I graduated in 3 years. I was on the GI Bill, and I had a wife and 2 kids, and I couldn't afford. I was going on GI Bill, and I had 36 months, and I had to get it done in 36 months, and I went straight through. And but my senior year, when we started interviewing, I had a lot of offers. I might put that arm in a cast. I'm breaking it so much. But at any rate, this guy, General Mills, I never will forget him. He had made me an offer as a district manager for General Mills in Tupelo, Mississippi. I kept telling him, sir, I've had an interview with Chemstrand, and if they make me an offer, I cannot accept your offer. And he said, we're willing to wait. I said, fine, that's fine and done. I interviewed with Southern Bell at that time. Gafers made me an offer. I don't remember, 2 or 3 others. But at any rate, I called the supervisor of recruiting for Chemstrand at that time, Mr. L.T. Gifford. And I told him, I said, Mr. Gifford, I just need to tell you that General Mills is really putting pressure on me to come up with a decision. And I want to work for Chemstrand. That's my heart and soul. I've been wanting to work for Chemstrand since I started at the University of Alabama in 1956. And he said, well, let me go down and talk to the superintendent of tire yarn manufacturing. It's a guy named Bob Warner. And we had just opened a plant in Greenwood, South Carolina. And Bob was going up there as the plant manager. And then another guy by the name of Cole, I can't remember his first name, and had just taken over as the superintendent of tire yarn manufacturing. And he said, I go down and talk to Cole, and I'll let you know something before the end of the day. I said, that'd be great. That's wonderful. Well, here I am on pins and needles. But I had a pretty ironclad offer. Matter of fact, the guy had already sent me a car. already got Mayflower to pick up my furniture. And I kept telling him, hold the phone.
The General Mills people.
Yeah, General Mills people, yeah.
Sent you a car.
Yeah, I had a car, a brand new car delivered to me, which was 1959. This was August 1959. And then I got a telegram. They called me from Western Union and wanted me to identify myself. And I did. It said, paraphrasing again, happy to inform you, job offer in the mail, starting salary $455 a month to begin on Monday, August the 29th, I think it was. And I didn't pick up my diploma until Saturday before the 29th. And then I had to call the admissions office and said, I'm not going to be there at the graduating service. I got to pack up and leave. But anyway, and please advise as soon as possible. Oh man, did I ever pick up the phone? And I called immediately, and Mr. Gifford was not in his office. Don't remember who I talked with. I said, I got to talk to somebody. And I just received this telegram. This was probably between 2 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I knew they were going to be leaving at 4:30. I said, I got to talk to Mr. Gifford. Tell him to call me collect. Well, he called me maybe 30, 45 minutes. It was a while later. I said, yes. And I'll be there Monday morning.
$455 a month.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
That's when you're living on $96.65 with married and 2 kids and paying rent and all the utilities and everything else. Of course, I was working 6 days a week from a lot of times it was from 6 in the evening to 12 midnight at Jitney Jungle Supermarket, and that's another story. But at any rate, that if I ever find a Jitney Jungle in this town anywhere, I try my best to buy from them. That was the best work experience I've ever had, other than the credit union. The credit union is a dream job. If you do right, treat people right, move in the right direction, you're going to have a long career. And but at any rate, we moved down here on a Saturday. This was, I think, a Thursday or Friday. It must have been a Thursday because we had to start packing up quickly because Mayflower had already sent a bunch of boxes out to us. And I said, we can't use these boxes. They'll charge us for them. But we started packing up, got a moving company to pick us up Saturday morning. We got down here early Saturday night. I said, all I want is a bed to sleep on because I got to go to work Monday morning.
Did you have a house?
I had a brother-in-law, my wife's sister, and her husband. He worked as a mechanic at Kimstrand, and they found this house for us. And I called the people and made the arrangements over the phone to rent a house. And they took my word for it that I would pay them Monday morning. And this was after we moved in on Saturday, early Saturday evening. Sure enough, Monday morning, I left the money, the checkbook with my wife, and I said, be sure. And I can't remember who they were now. They're going to be coming and collect the first month's rent. Yeah. And so here's the checkbook. And so she paid. And I think we had just barely enough in our checkbook to pay the first month's rent. And because I filed Kimstrand paid all my relocation expenses, all the moving, mileage, they paid everything.
From Tuscaloosa?
From Tuscaloosa to Pensacola. And Pensacola was as near home as I had heard from my brother-in-law about what a good company Kimstrand was to work for. When we lived on the corner of Hosebury and Craft Street, and if you went straight past our house, there was only 2 houses on that street. It was dirt road. It was a dirt road. And when we got back from Charlotte, and we came, and Eloise said, my wife said, I want to go by the old house on Craft Street. It was paved all the way through. All those houses, and since then, they've just been triple the number of houses. Everywhere you drive down that Hosebury Road is nothing but houses. And that's where my career with Kimstrand, Monsanto began. I never worked for Solutia or Ascend. Are y'all local?
Mm-hmm.
then you're familiar with the history of that plant. At one time, there was over 11,000 people that were employed at Monsana, and that did not include the guest operations and contractors like Daniels Construction. I started out as a shift foreman, and I detested shift work. I just did not like shift work. And I said, well, you got to pay your dues, and so finally got moved into another position with Monsana. Graduated from Alabama, went to work at Chemstrand, got lucky and moved up into management positions with the Monsana Company. And in 1979, I got my big break with Monsana Company. I hate to say but I was just fortunate enough to be promoted to the manager of personnel. Well, back then it wasn't personnel, now it's HR, human resource. And I got transferred to Charlotte. Worked out of my home base was St. Louis, but I worked out of St. Louis and had HR responsibility for New York, Greenville, Decatur, some guest operations here at Pensacola, Charlotte, North Carolina, Fayetteville, North Carolina. I was on the road all the time traveling. And in 1985, and I guess I came from a background that if you work hard, you believe in what you're doing, and stay true to the course, treat people right, success will come. Success will come if you truly, truly believe in what you're doing. And I really believed in what I was doing with Monsana at that time. In 1985, the Monsana Company offered what they call a golden handshake. You know, I was 52 and a half at that time, and I had planned to retire at 55 because Monsana had a program that if you had at least 25 years service and 55 years of age, you could retire with full benefits. Well, come December the 1st of 1985, they sent out all these packages, and lo and behold, my name was on one of the packages. And me and my wife, I had a son at the University of North Carolina, and my two girls had graduated from high school, from college, and our middle child, the daughter, had gotten married, and she had started her family. So and I had paid up all my tuition for my son at University of North Carolina, and we said, hey, let's take the handshake and go home. And so they paid me 2.5 years salary. They bridged me to 55. You know, I could pump gas at 67 cents an hour and still be ahead. But at any rate, we took it and came, and I taught as an adjunct professor at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, for about 18 months. Well, let me back up and say,
so you weren't living in Pensacola?
No, I was still living in Charlotte. That was my residence state, but I was really working out of St. Louis. But anyway, let me back up and say, I was an adjunct professor at Central Piedmont Community College in Charlotte, which was a part of the University of North Carolina Charlotte system. And if I remember correctly, I was paid out of the UNCC budget. But at any rate, I taught there for 18 months, and Dr. Doris Dixon, I never will forget Dr. Dixon. She was such an intelligent person, very perceptive, read people very well. And so I had some plans drawn up, and we were coming home, and I was going to build me a house. And I kept telling Dr. Dixon that what the last semester that I taught, I showed her my plan. She said, no, Mr. Brooks, you're not going to leave me. I said, yes, ma'am. At the end of this session, well, she went ahead and prepared a contract for me, and I said, no, ma'am, I'm sorry. So in August of 1987, we came back to Pensacola, and I built my daughter's house, my oldest daughter's house first. I acted as the general contractor, built that one. And then during that time, the credit union called me, and this is where it gets really sticky. They called me and said, we got a little situation here at the credit union, and we need you for about 6 months. You have a extensive background in HR personnel. I use the terms interchangeably. And so they told me what it was. And I said, sure. So that 6 months turned out to be almost 10 years. I started out as a consultant with the credit union. And so I said, fine and dandy, and the auditors came in, the outside auditors came in and said, your credit union is growing. I found out about this later. Your credit union is growing to the extent that you need an operations manager. And I skipped something. I had been the office manager and manager of this credit union before I moved to Charlotte. So this is where the 3 times running the credit union comes in.
Is that where that picture comes in?
So in 1962, I was the office manager, and in 1964, I was promoted to manager because Farrell Lanning got promoted within the company. At that time, the credit union was a part of the personnel department. Even though we reported to the board of directors, the president of the board at that time, Mr. Chairman now, really reported to the superintendent of personnel for Monsanto Company and Kim Strand. And so Farrell Allen, the manager, got promoted. I remember talking with the board about my interest in the manager's job, but I said, in all fairness to everybody, I'm paraphrasing now because I don't remember all the detail, you should do a search. You should be sure you got the individual that you feel that has the vision to move this credit union forward. I didn't say vision at that time, the forethought or the impetus or whatever word I used. But at any rate, they said, no, we're gonna talk about it. I said, well, I'd like to excuse myself. And y'all, because I was the office manager, the interim manager until they got someone. So I excused myself, and after a while they came back in and said, well, it's unanimous, we want you to be the manager. I said, fine. While I was in Charlotte, I spent nearly 9 years in Charlotte, North Carolina. They had an individual that was a CEO that just didn't work out. It didn't last probably a year. And then they got he was not called CEO. He was manager. And Doyle Griffith was the CEO, was the manager, was the office manager. So this guy didn't work out. So they moved Doyle Griffith up to manager. And then and he stayed the manager during the time that I was hired in 87, October of 87. And so I was working for him as a consultant in this personnel issue that we had. And then he finally retired. I say finally retired, that's the wrong choice of word. He decided he was going to retire. So they went out and hired an individual. And that was the first time the president CEO title was given to an individual after Doyle Griffiths retired.
And during this time, you were a consultant?
No, they had hired me as operations manager.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Yeah, they hired me as operations manager. This individual came in as the president and CEO, and unbeknownst to us, without getting into any details, he had some baggage. And it finally caught up with him. And it had to do with the regulators. And so he was let go. Again, I was the operations manager. And again, I went through that spiel. Do what you have to do. Be sure that you get the individual you feel that's a good mix with the board. It's very important that Chris Rutledge and the ones before him get along with the board. It's very important that the chemistry is there. You got to trust what the the individual is telling you, because let's face it, there's a lot of our board members, they don't understand, and it's understandable. And they got so much talent in so many different directions, but there's some things that they just not talented in. So you have to trust your CEO that he or she is giving the right information, and it's reliable, and you can build on it. Well, then this individual had these issues with the regulator, and it didn't work out. And because we did not want, as a credit union, and I was still the operations manager, the credit union did not want to be on the wrong side of the regulators, because there's more ways they can hurt you than there are ways. So finally, the board of directors cut the cord. And here I am again. Here I am again. And so they did a search again. I was president CEO. And then in 98, I said, hey, it's time for me to move on. I need to get out of the way and let somebody else run this. So we hired a young fellow. It turned out to be another mistake. Well, I say another mistake. It was a mistake. The other issue with the president CEO, with the regulators, was not forthcoming during the interview, nor with the background check. I don't know, I still don't know if it was one of these issues or whether pass the trash, get rid of somebody, move them on. But so here again, they went through the search. I was appointed the president CEO. I decided to retire in 98. We hired this young fellow. That was a bad decision on our part. I had retired and I was on the board. I was getting ready to go back on the board, and it didn't work out. So here we go again. Same situation, same chapter, same verse. But then from 19, I don't know, somewhere around mid-90s, after that young fellow left, I was again called on to do the job. And we were in bad shape. And here again, I'm breaking my arm, patting myself on the back. I had a lot of help, had a good staff. It's never a one-person deal. It's a team. Build a team. I guess I was a president CEO from 94 to 98, about 5 years. And then finally I gave a note to the chairman of the board at that time and said, listen, I plan to retire January the 1st, 1999. And I said, you need to get somebody. And so that's when we hired that young fella. And it worked out, maybe 2 years. I said, okay, let's go through the search again. And they said, no, we want you to step in again. And so I did, and I stayed from 92 and 93 to 98. Really January the 1st, 1999. And I decided that I would run for the board. Well, really, let me back up. I was already on the board.
You should be, yeah.
I was already on the board, and in order for them to pay me a salary, they had to get clearance with we were state chartered at that time. They had to get permission. I told them, I said, listen, the only board member that can be compensated for work performed is the treasurer. Well, we had a treasurer, Jack Williams. Y'all probably already talked with Jack. Fine fella, good man. And I said, I don't want to do anything to upset Jack. So if you want me as to fill in till we get someone else, then the only way that I can do it is the treasurer. Jack, being the type of person he is, spoke up and said, I'll resign right now, whatever it takes for you to come back. I said, fine, but Jack, I don't want any hard feelings. Oh, no, we got to get this credit union straightened out. At that time, this credit union was in bad shape. This young fellow in 2 years had moved it from a 1 to a 4. It was going downhill fast. And we were getting, well, they was talk of merging this credit union with another credit union. They being the regulators, they knew that this young man was fine family, fine background, fine everything, but he didn't have the experience to run a multifunctional, a multi-branch financial institution. And then I worked, and I told him, I gave him the memo, and I said, I want to retire. For the third time, I'm getting out of here. Let's get somebody. So we started a search, and we used the Florida Credit Union League to help us with the search, and they had a program down there which they used. It's sort of like professional search companies, and we used them, and we interviewed about 5 people for the president and CEO. And when we interviewed Chris Rutledge, even though he was he had been a federal examiner, historically now, my experience in credit union work, off and on since 1964, I have seen federal examiners make very, very bad president CEOs of a credit union. It's just not a good fit. And so when we were interviewing Rutledge, I said, listen, this has got to be the exception to the rule. This has got to be. This man's got his head on right. He has got good background, good financial, a lot of other good qualities. And I said, we just need to be careful that he doesn't manage to regulate it. And it has been a good fit, excellent fit. And so Rutledge was hired. In fact, I think he just celebrated his 10th anniversary, back in February. I think that's right. But at any rate, it's been a great fit, good team, and so that's basically my work history. And I had the pleasure of serving on the Florida Credit Union League board for 9 years, and of that 9 years, I was the treasurer of the league. And I was very fortunate to be awarded the Volunteer of the Year, and also inducted into the Florida Credit Union League Hall of Fame for credit union. Very fortunate. A lot of help from a lot of people. Didn't do it by myself. I think you can't buy experience. You get experience by doing. And I think the experience brought on by longevity is what makes us what we are today. We have a board that is compassionate. We always had the philosophy of find a way to help the member. Don't worry about trying to find a way not to help the member. It's that type. And now that we're a community credit union, we're a community charter now. So things have changed. Change brings on change. And so we all, with the exception of the 2 that came from Escambia County, George Wilkerson and Larry Maltby, we all worked together at Kim Strand, a Montana, and retired from there. I'm going over I can't think of anybody on the board except those 2 that we didn't work together, ate lunch together, went through bad times together, good times together, and fortunately the good times outweigh the bad times. And I think that's what brings it on. And I like the fact that we do have longevity. If you go in that boardroom and you look at that wall, the number of board members that have 45 years of service. And the one, now Vance Bateman is a Volunteer of the Year. Fred Houston is a Volunteer of the Year of Florida Credit Union League. And of course I was fortunate enough to be appointed. So 3 individuals from the same credit union being recognized by the Florida Credit Union League of Credit Unions. And it's just not the people down in Tallahassee, it's all the other credit unions in the state of Florida that vote on you. I think that in itself says a lot to answer your question. Well, the vision for this credit union is continued service to the membership. As long as you provide the service and stay competitive. Well, I don't mean competition between credit unions. I'm talking about services. If you provide the right services at the right time, at the right place, then you're going to grow. And I'm not interested in numbers. I'm interested in quality of service that the credit union can provide its members. If you can do something better than anybody else, what are they going to do? They're going to come to you. It's the old philosophy, build a better mousetrap and people will buy it. There'll be the path to your door. But I see us providing the service in a timely manner, conform with the regulations, taking care of your employees. And I think Chris Rutledge, in my opinion, does an excellent job of being sensitive to the needs of the employees. When I worked at this credit union, it was my philosophy is that set your priorities right and don't ever forget the priorities: God, family, and the credit union. And don't get them out of order, because it's important that you spend time with God, you spend time with your family, and then you do the best job you possibly can. I've had people, when I worked here, that come in and say, Chris, I just got a call from my babysitter. I need to go. Don't say anything else. Go. Get out of here. Don't you know what the priorities are? If that baby needs you, go now. I don't want to hear it. Get out of here. And that word gets around. You do something good for an employee, then she'll tell or he'll tell a lot. You do something bad, everybody's going to know about it. But anyway, that's my vision, my philosophy, and hope that I will live long enough to continue to make what minor contributions I can make.